Hello, everyone. Welcome to Stacking the Box, the NFL Week 15 preview episode of Stacking the Box. Iain, MacMillan, Sterling Holmes here. We're going to rip through 14 of the 16 NFL Week 15 games. We'll leave the Monday games, which includes my Falcons, to the Monday show. So thankfully, I don't need to talk about the Atlanta Falcons in this show. We are going to talk about the Kansas City Chiefs, though, once again, with their Week 15 game against the Browns. Sterling, what's up?
Yo, baby. Got my coffee.
Mm-hmm.
I got my co-host. I got my parents' basement. We're vibing.
I got my webcam, so a little bit of a different angle there for the video viewers of this show. Yeah, I'm going to try not to get too fired up about the Chiefs today. I think we got fired up enough about it on Monday. We are now in the final stretch of the season, Sterling, with bye weeks in the rearview mirror. We now have 4 weeks left, all 32 teams in action all 4 weeks, and then the playoffs will be here. I can't wait. So we are going to get into that. Also, we have Lior Lampert coming back on to talk fantasy football in his fantasy corner this week because playoffs start. Sterling, did you make the playoffs in any of your fantasy leagues?
I did. I do. So I have a couple. I have a Dynasty League, an Arrowhead Attic League, and then I have a Money League. My Money League is the one that I probably care the most about because I've done it since college, since 2016, with the same group of guys, some Pledge Brothers, and it's fun. We put money in every single year. It's a blast. Traditionally, I've been very good. Gone through a cold stretch the past few seasons. Everyone thought I was done for. I drafted CMC first overall this year. I thought I was done for. I snuck into the playoffs, barely made it in, and the playoffs actually started last week for us. Put up the most amount of points scored last week. Your boy is back.
I also snuck into my oldest league's playoffs in the final week, and nobody wants to face the Manhattan Maniacs in the playoffs, I'll tell you that much.
Oh, wow. See, the New Orleans Taints really have another thing coming for you. Taint it up, baby.
All right, Underdog, it is the best place to cash in on all your takes this football season. Which players are going off? Which ones are ice cold? Make your entries in just a few taps and turn your sports opinions into real money. Join over 5 million fans that are already playing on Underdog with their Pick'em game. You could win money by making entries with your favorite players. Underdog is the best place to play champion, so sign up and deposit now using promo code Stacking the Box to get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly. Thursday Night Football, Rams, 49ers. I got a Underdog lineup here for the people. If I get rid of this pop-up here we go. Puka Nacua, higher than 88.5 receiving yards. George Kittle, higher than 4.5 receptions. Brock Purdy, higher than 247.5 passing yards. And Kyron Williams, lower than 72.5 rushing yards. That is my Underdog lineup for the people. Go ahead and take the opposite of everything I just told you, and you should be in a pretty good spot come Thursday night. Download the app today and use the code Stacking the Box to get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly. Higher or lower, you make the call on Underdog. Must be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus in Massachusetts and Arizona, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Void in Colorado. Concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. Arizona, 1-800-NEXT-STEP. 1-800-639-8783 or text next step to 53342. New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. Let's start right there with Thursday Night Football. It is the Rams. It is the 49ers, Sterling. The 49ers favored. They opened, I think, as 3-point favorites and went down to 2. It is now back up to 2.5. Actually, he's back up to 3, all the way back up to 3. What's your take in this pivotal NFC West game? A game where the 49ers not yet eliminated. They have the longest odds of all the NFC West teams to make the playoffs, not yet eliminated. The Rams have the second best chance now. So obviously a very pivotal game in this division. What's your take?
I feel like I get why the 49ers are 3-point favorites, but also I don't. Like, I get it because we are all used to seeing the San Francisco 49ers be one of, if not the best team in the NFC for the past few seasons. Mm-hmm. But I don't get it because they're not that good. I know you're going to bring up yards per play and all of these underlying numbers, but what really matters is, do you win? What seriously? What really? Great. You can hang your banner of we should have won more games but didn't. Like
Right.
that's not how it works. The Rams are finding ways. Their offense is starting to really click. Puka Nacua is truthfully one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. Matt Stafford is slanging the rock. This should be a higher scoring game, but again, it's Thursday Night Football. You know my thoughts on Thursday Night Football, not a fan. I don't think you always get the best product. I think a lot of times the more physical team wins on Thursday Night Football. I guess the 49ers would be considered the more physical team, so I'd probably roll with San Fran, but you're right. This is a massive game, and again, I hate that a massive game is on short rest on Thursday Night Football. I hate playoff implications coming down to which team can try and play better with 3 days rest. I think it's silly.
I would say if you're a fan of a team, then you're right. Wins and losses are the only thing that matter. But I think you got to look at it a little bit deeper when trying to evaluate these teams. And I said before we started, Sterling, there are two teams who I've lost a lot of money on this season. One's the Tennessee Titans and one's the 49ers. So you would think that just I would stop doing the same thing over and over, but I'm not going to. I still believe in the 49ers, which, to be fair, they did, believing them did pay off last week. They crushed the Bears last week. Crushed them.
It's also the Bears.
Still something left there. It is the Bears. The Bears have a good defense, though. Juwan Jennings, very good. He's a very good receiver.
Yeah.
And also, last time the 49ers played against the Rams earlier this season, Juwan Jennings had like 11 catches for like 800 yards. So I should have put Juwan Jennings in my underdog lineup now that I think about it. I still like the 49ers. And I think the betting odds, I think the spread actually indicates that yes, their record is not good. Yes, they've let a lot of games slip away from them. Yes, they have a lot of injuries, but this 49ers team is still a good team. You already said it, net yards per play, second in the NFL. Only the Baltimore Ravens rank higher in net yards per play than the 49ers. Ooh. So they are doing a good job of moving the football down the field and preventing their opponent from doing so. Now there's a lot more that comes into winning a football game.
Like scoring more points than your opposing team. That's traditionally how it's actually judged. Traditionally.
Red zone efficiency, turnovers, penalties, coaching decisions, things like that. But at the end of the day, if you boil football down to its, most base goal, it is moving the ball down the field and preventing the other team from doing so, which the 49ers are very good at doing. I still believe in the 49ers. And I love that everyone's on the Rams. Everyone's on the Rams this game, and I love being on the opposite side of everyone else. So I like the 49ers. All right, moving on to Sunday's games. The biggest spread of the NFL season is this Sunday, Sterling. The Baltimore Ravens against the New York Giants. It opened at 13.5. It climbed to 14.5. Today, it was announced that your boy Drew Lock is out. Tommy DeVito back in. That caused the spread to climb even more. The Ravens are now 16-point favorites against the New York Giants. And it's not even a home game. This game's in New Jersey. I was going to say New York, but it's in New Jersey. Home game for the Giants, and it's still a 6-point. If this game was in Baltimore, it'd be flirting with being a 3-touchdown spread.
What's crazier? It's a 16-point spread, or that the over-under is still only 42.5.
Yeah.
For the Ravens to win and the under, or for the Ravens to cover and the under to hit would be diabolical. Mm-hmm. And yet I don't think it's out of the equation, because what do the Ravens traditionally do? I know they've lost the
football and play good defense.
Well, no, they've lost to some bad teams this year. The Raiders included, right? They lost to the Raiders, which, apparently to some people that loss is somehow better than the Chiefs barely squeaking by. Doesn't matter. The Ravens traditionally hammer bad teams. Like, when they beat bad teams, it's by 30 points, right? That's a lot of what the Ravens' DNA is. It's Lamar's a great quarterback. Nothing is being taken away by saying this. But when they get up, a lot of times he's still in there either throwing the ball or running the ball and getting some extra touchdowns near the goal line. I'm not taking anything away. Lamar is as deserving of the MVP awards as anyone has been in the NFL. But I brought this up with the Cowboys before, and I brought it up with just different teams in general. The Ravens are a team, when they get up against bad competition, they don't win by 2, by 3, by 7. I don't blame them, They do the right thing. Don't make the game close. Do what you're supposed to do until the clock hits 0. I wish the Chiefs did that. They don't. The Ravens do. So I could easily see the Ravens winning this game by 24 or more. That would not shock me in the slightest. If you told me what's more likely, Sterling, the Ravens win by 27 points or the Ravens win by 3, I think it'd be more likely that the Ravens win by 27 points.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the Giants are going to do offensively. Tommy DeVito stinks. I mean, they have a running back that can run the football, Tyrone Tracy. They refuse to give him the ball for some reason, though. And the Ravens' secondary is bad, but the run defense has been pretty good. So I don't even think if they do give him the ball, I don't know if that's going to be a successful game played either. So, I mean, the Ravens might just have to score 3 touchdowns to cover the spread. If they score 21 points, it might be 21-3 and they cover the spread. Yeah. I don't think we need to spend too much time on that game. Although, I mean, there's been big underdogs that have, made it close this season. But I just Panthers last week are an example. But I just don't see a path for the Giants. All right, moving on. Commanders and Saints 7.5 point spread. Another team that is just depleted in the Saints. I mean, I'm surprised it's only a 7.5 point spread. Derek Carr obviously out. Jake Haener, how you pronounce his last name? He's in for the Saints. Alvin Kamara, I saw, is questionable. I don't know if he's going to play or not. I mean, he's their last offensive weapon. So you got no Rashid Shaheed, no Chris Olave, no Derek Carr, maybe no Alvin Kamara, no Taysom Hill. Oh, man, the Saints are in a tough spot. Also, their defense has been bad. Second most yards per play given up defensively in the league, the New Orleans Saints. Commanders also fresh, coming off a bye week. This is should be a lopsided game.
Again, you're right. This would probably be the second biggest upset outside of the Giants, right? I would have to imagine if you said the Saints won this game, I would be befuddled. I would be shocked. Marquez Valdez-Scantling right now is like wide receiver 1 for this New Orleans Saints team. Not ideal. Commanders still with a lot to play for, obviously, right? They
still need to win some games. Yeah, they haven't locked up a spot yet.
Yeah, so this is important. This is a game that you need to take care of.
Yes.
So after a bye, all things being considered, trap game or not, doesn't matter when you had a week off to prepare. I like the Commanders in this one and Commanders to roll.
Yeah, Commanders are 8-5. 2 teams outside the playoffs, or I guess one team that's outside the playoffs that's only a game back is the Rams at 7-6. And then you got, the Falcons, Cardinals, 49ers still flirting with a wild card spot at 6-7. So the Commanders lose this game, they fall to 8-6. It kind of reopens up the wild card picture, which for the majority of the season, we've kind of assumed the 3 wild card teams in the NFC were going to be the Vikings, Packers, and Commanders. But they find a way to lose this one to the Saints. All of a sudden, that 7th spot is kind of wide open, especially if the Rams are able to get past the 49ers on Thursday Night Football. So also, I did which it's never a good spot when you're a fan of a football team and you're doing the playoff simulator. I was doing the playoff simulator to see what needs to happen for the Falcons to get a wild card spot because I've assumed we're going to lose the NFC South. Not outside the realm of possibility. We got to go on a run. And we kind of need the Commanders to lose this game.
We're
not talking Falcons today anyways. Well, we'll talk about that on Monday. Chiefs and Browns. The sports bettors all over the Browns in this one because this spread opened at 6.5 all the way down to 4. Moved 2.5 points, which is pretty rare to see in a game that hasn't had any significant injuries unless I've missed something. And there has been a significant injury, but I don't think there is. It's just pro bettors know the same thing that I know, which is that the Chiefs are FRAUDS.
No, it's that the Chiefs win but don't cover.
Sure.
That's all it is.
0-7 against the
sure. 12-1.
Yeah.
2-game lead in the AFC. So, yeah, big frauds, dog.
Probably the same thing in this one. They win but don't cover.
Yeah, although the 4 is starting to get into the territory of they probably, I don't know. When you look at their last 5 games, it's been a 2-point victory, a 2-point victory, a loss, a 3-point victory, and a 2-point victory. They don't cover. They don't win by much, is what this Chiefs team does. I do think a lot of people aren't talking about the fact that if Jameis Winston is on and hitting the deep ball with Jerry Jeudy, with David Njoku, this is a horrible matchup for this Kansas City Chiefs defense. This Chiefs defense and the secondary in particular has been decimated by injuries. They have played really poor. They just brought in Steven Nelson and signed a retired guy to put on the practice squad. Won't play in this one, but even maybe next week, he might be CB2. That goes to show you the concern in the secondary for Kansas City. They are just decimated with injuries and playing poor football. Offensive line, still an issue. Left tackle, DJ Humphries went out last game with an injury. Not a big update yet. Andy Reid spoke today, said that DJ Humphries is not listed as out, but he did not practice today. Not looking great for DJ Humphries, which means, do they move their left guard to left tackle? Do they go back to the left tackle that they've benched on multiple occasions this season? It's a tough situation for Kansas City. Like, if you told me the Browns won this game and Jameis Winston threw for 350, I honestly would not be surprised. The issue is he's going to have to throw for 350, and he cannot throw an interception. This Chiefs secondary, by the way, they're not the most opportunistic. I do think this is a bad matchup for Kansas City. I think the Chiefs do win, but I'm still taking the Browns with the points.
Yeah, I'm not going to get cocky like I did last week and take the Browns to upset them like I took the Chargers, but I certainly will take the points with the Browns and just assume that it's going to be a very similar situation. Now, you mentioned with a 4-point spread, if the Chiefs do score at the last second on the last play of the game to win and that scores a touchdown, they could cover the spread.
I will say this. I think the Browns have a better chance of winning this week than the Chargers did last week.
Yeah, well, the Chargers were in a tough spot with no Ladd McConkey. I think if Ladd McConkey plays, I think that game's different.
Well, and if Rashee Rice or Hollywood Brown played, that game's probably different too, but we're not going
Yeah, but those guys weren't like questionable leading into the game.
Fair. The Chiefs were on their third kicker. It's okay. I still, the point remains, I think matchup-wise, the Browns, on paper, could be a potential bad matchup with the amount that Jameis throws, the deep balls that he hits on, and the Chiefs don't turn over opposing quarterbacks very often. So you're not getting the crazy Jameis as much as other teams might. Just throwing that out there.
Can I ask one more Chiefs question before we move on? Just big picture Chiefs.
Yeah.
Are you, and be honest with me.
Yeah.
Because for the majority of the season, when the Chiefs were playing like this, everyone thought it, and rightfully so. I think I said the same thing, that it's okay. The Chiefs will turn it on at some point and they'll win the Super Bowl again.
Sure.
We still haven't seen it. There's 4 weeks left. We haven't seen the Chiefs become the Chiefs yet. Are you concerned, or do you legitimately think there's a chance when they get to the postseason, they all of a sudden flip that switch?
I'm telling you right now, there's not a single individual team I would take over Kansas City come playoff time.
Right now?
Right now.
You wouldn't...
No, but okay. if you told me like Chiefs versus the field, well, you're taking the field. That's just smart numbers, right? Because the Lions, the Eagles, the Bills, like, yes. But if you said which team right now do you think has the best chance, individual team, of winning the Super Bowl, who would you roll with? I would roll with Kansas City.
Wow.
And a big reason why is last year the sky was falling. It was 11-6. They're 12-1. They were 11-6, Ian. They could easily be what? 9-4 right now. And they would maybe, let's just say they ended the year 11-6 again, if that was how some of their Pythagorean theorem would have ended out. That would be last year's squad. Last year's squad was horrendous on Christmas. Everyone thought the season was over. And then what happened?
Yeah, they got it. But I mean, I would say as a guy who handicaps teams and looks at metrics every single week, the Chiefs last year, even though the record not nearly as good as it was this year, their metrics were way better than they are this year.
I think one of the things that I have, and again, we can talk about with all the contenders too, if you'd like. The offensive line for Kansas City has 4 weeks to figure it out. That's what they have. The offensive line has been the tackles, not the guards or center, but the tackles, especially the left side, has been atrocious. So the Chiefs have 4 weeks to figure it out. I'm counting on the Chiefs figuring that out in 4 weeks. Whatever it is, I think they at least find a way to, you're not going to solve it, but live with it. The Chiefs have 4 weeks to get whoever the CB2 is, whether that's Steven Nelson, Joshua Williams, Najee Johnson, because Jalen Watson's out, right? Jalen Watson's missed the entire season. Since the first 3 games, when he was incredible the first 3 games, he looked like the next L'Jarius Sneed, and then got injured, right? So they have 4 more games to figure out the secondary. To me, I know it doesn't seem like a lot of time, but for a team that really only has 2 weaknesses, That's a good amount of time. They just got an edge rusher back in Charles Omenihu that is already paying off dividends on the defensive line as a whole. They've struggled on the defensive line this season getting after the quarterback. Charles Omenihu opens it up for everyone else, including Chris Jones. The wide receivers are fine, and they should be getting back Hollywood Brown relatively soon. So there are some reinforcements on the way, including Harrison Butker at some point. I don't think people have realized how injured the Kansas City Chiefs have been this year. Everyone keeps talking about how close of games they're winning by. In your words, they're frauds. But no one brings up the amount of injuries they have suffered and still win in spite of. They will get some of that help back. That's why I'm not quite as worried.
All right, so you answered my question. You do believe they will still be able to flip a switch and become the Chiefs of old in the playoffs? But...
Yes.
Okay, fair enough. Dolphins, Texans. Texans 2.5-point home favorites. Dolphins not eliminated from the playoffs yet. 6-7 with now 3 teams at 8-5. So even though, everyone's kind of penciled in the Ravens and the Chargers in a playoff spot, they're 8-5. That's 2 games ahead of both the Colts and the Bengals, 3 games ahead. 2 games ahead of the Colts and Dolphins, 3 games ahead of the Bengals. But still, all 3 wild card, if any of them go 1-3 in their final 4 games, which is not, completely crazy, they could lose their spot. So, the Bengals are still, or the Dolphins are still kind of in the mix here. Need a win against the Texans. They are slight road underdogs in Houston. Do you think the Dolphins can string together another win?
Man, this is tough because the Dolphins winning this game makes, again, the whole playoff picture way more interesting. For that reason, I almost hope the Dolphins win so we at least have some sort of intrigue as we head into the final couple weeks. Again, Houston has been disappointing to me this year. I really thought they were going to take a step forward. I picked them last year to do what they did. This year has been really disappointing. The offensive line has been the main culprit in my mind. I know they've had injuries. I know Tank Dell and Nico Collins and pretty much everyone at some point feels like they've been injured weapon-wise for Houston. Joe Mixon's been outstanding. But it's that offensive line that has really, I think, held the Texans and that offense back. If people are wondering why, is it C.J. Stroud having a sophomore slump? I say no. You got to have time. He does not have time. I still like the Texans at home in this one because you mentioned it. They don't have it locked up. Normally, I would say the hungrier team wins, but which team's more hungry? Both are starving. Dolphins have to win. Texans really are kind of in the same boat. If they lose, all of a sudden, they're in danger. So I don't know if that really plays a factor in this one. I'll go with Houston at home. I hope the offensive line gets figured out for them. But this should be one of the more fun games on the slate on Sunday.
I agree. The Texans' offensive line is a huge part of the issue offensively, but I still think C.J. Stroud is regressing even beyond the offensive line. Now, obviously, having a bad offensive line is going to affect the rest of the way you play, but even his completion percentage above expected is still in the bottom 10 in the NFL. He's not playing as well as he did last year, regardless of offensive line or not. So a lot of red flags, I think, about the Texans. But we'll see. I like the Dolphins in that one. All right, we got the Bengals and Titans. I've taken the Titans almost every week this season. They are one of the worst spread teams in NFL history. I think they've covered the spread twice, and I'm back on the Titans again. And I find it very hard to lay points on the Bengals. I did it on Monday night. I was lucky for that to cover because their defense is so bad. Cooper Rush and their Cowboys offense look good against the Bengals defense. So the only way the Bengals cover any kind of spread is if they score last, and the score that they get is a touchdown. Because they had no business covering that game, and they did.
The only concern I have is against Jacksonville, who has one of the worst defenses in the entire NFL. I took the over last week in this game. They put up 25 points combined.
Yeah.
I am with you, but the Jacksonville defense was also atrocious. It's on par with Cincy, and they couldn't do anything. Mm-hmm. Now, will Will Levis and Calvin Ridley figure it out this week? They could. And, Westbrook-Akina, all that stuff. But I don't want to take Will Levis. I don't want to take this Titans team. I actually thought one of the easier spreads this week was Bengals -5, personally. You and I differ here. I get it. I've somewhat been on the Titans train with you, where as far as I feel like some of their metrics scream some regression to the mean in a positive sense, hasn't happened. I'm done. We're so far into the season now that I'm not going to buy into that anymore. Yeah, I think the Bengals win this game, and I think they probably win by 14.
Okay, the Jets and the Jaguars. Jaguars 3-point home underdogs. Jets only 3-point road favorites. And I will give Aaron Rodgers kind of credit for playing for the rest of the season because
Why?
Because I honestly did think if you told me that they were this bad at this point in the season, I truly thought Aaron Rodgers was going to have an injury and sit out.
You know how low of expectations you have to have for that to make you impressed by him? Like, the expectations are so low of someone.
My expectations were worse because I thought that he was going to have this season and then quit on his team. He has not quit on his team. So I'll give him credit.
This game is buns. If
Aaron Rodgers is ever going to have a good game, it's against the Jaguars secondary, who is, I mean, you mentioned it, somehow Will Levis couldn't do anything, but almost every metric you look at, Jaguars dead last in pass defense.
Yeah. I'll take the Jets, but I mean, who knows? Aaron Rodgers could just stop playing midway through this game. Breece Hall's questionable. This Jets team is an abomination.
Yeah. So are the Jaguars, though.
Bring back Blake Bortles and Zach Wilson, then I'll watch this game.
Perfect. Cowboys, Panthers. Panthers favored for the first time since 2022. I think it was week 15, 2022. They were favored to the Steelers. They lost that game outright. So for the first time since then, they are the betting favorites, 3-point favorites. This opened as a 1-point favorite. It's gone all the way up to 3, which is key because that 3 is a key number in the betting world. So the fact it went all the way to 3 means, that's pretty significant. So Panthers field goal favorites at home to the Cowboys.
This is an interesting game to judge because the Panthers played Kansas City really close, and everyone said, wow, Kansas City can't win close, or they can't blow teams out, right?
Right.
Then they should have beat the Eagles. Xavier Legette makes that catch how many times out of 195?
Well, you can't say they should have beat the Eagles because then that kind of like supports my whole thing that the Chiefs should have lost a lot of games. Because at the end of the day, Xavier Legette did not catch the ball.
Okay. My point is, if you'd let me get to it.
My water bottle's leaking. Just leaked all over me.
As it should. It's like the Falcons leaking oil. Somehow that's used against the Chiefs and used as a positive for Philly. I don't understand that dichotomy of somehow the Chiefs can't blow teams out, but the Eagles, they held on. Give him credit.
Because the Eagles have blown out teams is the difference. The Chiefs have not blown out a single team all year.
The Panthers might be decent. The Panthers actually might be a decent team. Bryce Young's starting to figure things out. Deontay Johnson was clearly a cancer in that organization because he goes to Baltimore. You're seeing what's happened there. You're seeing the receiving room for the Panthers really blossom. Xavier Legette has been a big reason why. Mingo obviously gone too. The Panthers have kind of figured out what their plan is going forward. Their plan is built around Xavier Legette. Adam Thielen's your veteran wide receiver. Bryce Young is going to be your starting quarterback. This season is not all lost for the Panthers, is my point. Winning or losing doesn't matter. Keeping games close, that does matter. But beating the Panthers would put a nice little cherry on what has been a nice finish towards the season. The Cowboys, though, have played decent with Cooper Rush the last 3 weeks. They're 2-1. Probably should have won this past game against Cincinnati. The Cowboys haven't rolled over, which counts for something. I would probably, if it's -3, give me the Cowboys -3. If it's 2.5, +3. If it's Panthers -2.5, I might roll with the Panthers, just value-wise speaking.
I will say, and you just said that the Cowboys have not rolled over, and I don't like, looking at vibes. I'm strictly a numbers guy when it comes to, trying to pick which side is going to win. But the vibes on the Cowboys sideline when they lost to the Bengals on Monday night felt very like they imploded. They felt like because they lost that game, that season was over. Micah Parsons was having a hissy fit on the sideline. Like Cooper Rush was like acting like they just lost the Super Bowl. Like Mike McCarthy had that dumb look that he always has on his face, but by like times by like 5. So the Cowboys have not yet rolled over, but this could be the game where we see the Cowboys have rolled over. Because it did feel like they felt like they were getting something going and we're going to go on a run and get back in the mix. And just based on, once again, vibes and, what the camera was showing on the sideline, they looked deflated after that Bengals loss.
Good call.
Colts and Broncos, pivotal game in the AFC playoff picture. because the Broncos 8-5 right now, Colts 6-7. So the Colts win this game. They're only one game behind, and they would have that head-to-head tiebreaker. I don't know if this is right because the math that the NFL.com uses is incorrect. I don't know where they get this math from, but they say that if the Colts win this game, all of a sudden they have a 56% chance to make the playoffs, higher than 50%. So if that is accurate, this is one of the more pivotal games in the AFC playoff picture so far this season. Broncos are at home, 4-point favorites, both teams coming off a bye.
I will hit this game when we give out best bets.
Perfect. I have no faith in Anthony Richardson. He had one good game against the Jets. He's stunk in 2 games since then. I will be going against Anthony Richardson on the road against the Broncos defense. Good luck. Bills-Lions potential Super Bowl preview. Spread has been interesting in this one. Lions open as 3-point favorites and went all the way down to 1.5. It's now back up to 2.5. In Detroit, high total 54.5. And like I said, potential Super Bowl preview.
If you bet on this game, that's on you. This is a game that you just need to sit back, maybe crack open a cold one, and enjoy. And that's what I'm going to do. I don't give a hoot about this necessarily in regards to who wins. I'm rooting for the Lions, of course, as a Chiefs fan. But as far as betting, you don't need a little extra bumps or an extra reason to watch. This game should be freaking awesome.
I agree. If you're betting to make games more exciting, you probably don't need to bet to make this one more exciting because it's already as exciting as it gets. It's, like I said, a potential Super Bowl preview. You can agree with that at least. Potential.
Oh, 100%.
Right. Okay.
If the Chiefs don't make it, this is probably the one I want to watch.
Yes. Producer Sean asked, does Josh Allen lock up MVP with a win? I think as long as he doesn't crap his pants in the final 4 weeks, he's probably going to win MVP.
Yeah, I would agree.
If he has a really bad performance in this game, then big questions, but he has 3 easy games to finish out the schedule, 2 against the Patriots and 1 against the Jets, I believe.
Yeah.
So as long as he doesn't completely crap his pants and then has a solid final 3 weeks, it's going to be Josh Allen's to lose.
Yep.
Steelers-Eagles, the Battle of Pennsylvania.
Yeah, this is going to be awesome.
I'll say it, kind of another potential Super Bowl preview.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the Eagles are somewhat flying under the radar. I really do. It seems like everyone only talks about Detroit in the NFC. Like it's Detroit, it's the NFC North, and Philly is just flying under the radar. I think they're a damn good team. I really do. Everyone talks about Saquon Barkley, and they've talked about the concern with Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown and Brandon Graham going on, radio and for some reason spewing a whole bunch of stuff and giving more information than he really needed to. That doesn't matter. They're a damn good team. But I think the Steelers also are really, really talented. Defensively, they're outstanding. Russell Wilson has really turned back the clock. And again, I mentioned it. I think it's because he actually has receivers that fit his style. Receivers that can catch the moon ball. Bigger bodied guys that can go up and get it. Can run a deep ball, deep route. I like the Eagles, but I don't know. This is a tough one for me. This is another one of those games that I don't think I need to bet on. I just want to sit back and watch.
I'm realizing how good the late afternoon slate is this Sunday. You got Colts, Broncos, an pivotal AFC playoff game. Bills, Lions, potential Super Bowl preview. Steelers, Eagles, 2 division leaders. I would say not as likely Super Bowl preview, but still potential. And then another one that's pivotal for the playoff picture in opposite conferences, the Buccaneers against the Chargers. If the Buccaneers win this game, they basically win the NFC South. They would have to lose one of their last 3 games, which are against the Cowboys, Saints, and Panthers. And then the Falcons would have to win out. If they lose this game and the Falcons win on Monday night, the NFC South is up for grabs.
It's back on.
Yeah. This is the game I got circled on Sunday. I'll be wearing my Chargers jersey. I guarantee it.
Yeah, and the Chargers, if Ladd McConkey plays, I think you probably like their chances. Defensively, the Chargers are the best in regards to points per game. They can stop the run when need to. Baker's great. Got some receivers. But I don't know if I trust the Buccaneers defense. The Buccaneers have been better than I expected this year. That much is for, both these teams have been nice surprises in the NFL.
Yeah.
But I would lean LA if I were placing money on this game. Again, a lot of playoff implications though for both teams.
I don't think enough people give the Buccaneers enough credit for their offense. Top 5 in EPA per play, top 5 in success rate. They are a top 5 offense by most metrics, which is pretty crazy. And it's because of the run game. The run game has been bad the past couple of years. Very good this year. Bucky Irving has been fantastic. He's averaging over 5 yards carry. Patriots, Cardinals. I have one thing. I mean, this game doesn't really matter. I don't think that I think the Cardinals are kind of running out of steam here. One thing I want to bring up about this game, which I find interesting, and it's the reason why I'm actually taking the Patriots in this game. Kyler Murray, if you look at his career splits by month, his numbers fall off a cliff in December. Now, pun unintended, but that might have been because of Cliff Kingsbury. But this year, in the past couple of weeks, we're kind of seeing the same thing. Kyler Murray might just be a guy who, as the season progresses, falls off. And one of the reasons could be, and I mean, this is a little bit of speculation, but it was written in his contract about him not watching film. When does watching film come into play the most? As the season goes on. In the early parts of the year, teams are going to do what they do. You can rely on your athleticism and skill a little bit more as a quarterback. As the season goes on and offensive coordinators and defensive coordinators start playing chess with each other, you got to watch film to figure out where the holes are are on the defenses, what you need to do offensively to exploit them. And that could be an issue. Cardinals in Kyler Murray starts in December, 7-13. Oof. He falls about 4% in completion percentage. He falls about half a yard per pass attempt. And the most glaring thing is he has 20 interceptions in the month of December, 5 more than any other month, 27 touchdowns, 20 interceptions, 21 fumbles in the month of December in his career. Kyler Murray's stats fall off a cliff in December, and for that reason, I do not have faith in the Cardinals covering a 6-point spread. I'll take the points with the Patriots.
Yeah, and not great when he is your fantasy football quarterback in the playoffs. Yeah, not great. I've been winning in spite of, not because of Kyler Murray. Yeah, no, that's a very good call. This is the traditional Kyler Murray and almost Arizona game plan. Start off strong, maybe surprise some people, and then fizzle. And I thought this year was going to be different, but it sure looks like it's more of the same.
Producer Sean says, during Call of Duty promotional events, all his stats tank. Yeah, that's... Big Call of Duty guy, too. Doesn't watch film, plays Call of Duty. Yeah. Yep. It's true.
It's almost like the James Harden, his production based on strip clubs in the city.
Yeah,
if you remember that one.
Yeah, it's like strip club quality on like a graph with like his performances in cities. Yeah.
It's like, that's Kyler Murray with Call of Duty. That's what it is.
Packers, Seahawks, Sunday night. Very interesting game, and anything could happen in this game. I wouldn't be shocked. And I bet on every single game like an idiot. This is the game that I wish if there was one game a week I could forfeit and not bet on this week, it would have been the Packers and Seahawks.
Yeah, this should be awesome. Absolutely electric. Again, there are a lot of good games this slate. It's like the bad teams play each other, but then the good teams play each other. Makes for an interesting slate of games. I'd probably take the Seahawks with the points at home.
Same.
Again, a lot to play for, but they're playing some damn good football right now. Jackson Smith and Jigba really stepping up. DK Metcalf not having to do quite as much. Zach Charbonnet was electric on the ground, that 51-yard rushing touchdown. Kenneth Walker could be back this week, so it goes back to that 1-2 punch. I've been very impressed with Seattle. When they moved on from Pete Carroll, I was very befuddled, but you're seeing some results this season.
Yeah, their defense has figured some things out, and their offensive line has figured some things out too. So, I ended up landing with the Seahawks and the points at home, but anything could happen to that one, and I wouldn't be too shocked. The Packers are an interesting team. Their defense and success rate specifically, bottom 5 in the NFL, which is kind of confusing because I haven't really necessarily seen that show up like from the eye test. They're not necessarily bad on third down, so I don't know. It's something to keep, but they're like 28th in opponent success rate. It's weird. All right, we are going to give out picks, but before we do that, we're going to talk some fantasy football. Lior Lampert's Fantasy Corner. Let's bring him in to talk fantasy football because playoffs are starting. Lior, what's up? How many did you make the playoffs in any of your fantasy leagues?
Yeah, so I'm in, I believe, 6 leagues, including just like some that are just for fun. Made the playoffs in 4 of them, so not bad.
That's a pretty good clip. Anything over 50% is a good clip. I think I'm in 5 or 6 leagues. I made them in 2. No, I made them in 3. I kind of got hot late in the regular season.
Okay, yeah. So you're above that 50% clip, like you said. We'll take that.
Yep.
You guys are psychos. That many leagues?
Yeah.
Grow up. Read a book.
Yeah, I don't say no when someone invites me to a fantasy league. I say yes almost every single time.
Say no.
Yeah.
Get a job. Like, gosh.
I'm a
Some would
sucker
say
for
it
these
is our
leagues.
job. All right, Lior, let's talk fantasy football with the playoffs around the corner. Let's give some advice to the people who are in their playoffs, in their leagues. Give us some names that we should maybe avoid playing in the first round of the playoffs this week.
Okay, yeah. Well, there's typically some guys that are lineup blocks or staples, you'd say, that you can feel pretty confidently starting in a spot every week. But heading into the playoffs, you might want to be wary of these three guys, starting with Breece Hall for the New York Jets. This one, it might be cheating considering he didn't play last week, and he seems to be on the wrong side of questionable based on what we've seen for Week 15. But the Jets have emphasized they're not shutting Breece Hall down at this time, and if he plays, it's going to be hard to trust him in win or go home matchups. The last time Hall was active in Week 13, he appeared to re-aggravate the knee issue that sidelined him for Week 14, and he was in and out of the lineup because of it. After that, it quickly turned into a three-man committee between Breece Hall, Isaiah Davis, and Braylon Allen in the Jets' backfield, and it's just not an inviting situation. Notably, Hall's receiving usage was scaled back, which is big for him, especially as a pass catcher out of the backfield. That's like the bread to his RB1 value right there. He saw only one target in Week 13 compared to Braylon Allen and Isaiah Davis's 5 combined looks. And it's worth mentioning that Hall's knee issue right now is currently in the surgically repaired knee that he had tore his ACL previously on, and the Jets are 3-10. So if he suits up, given the circumstances, it's hard to imagine him reclaiming a bell cow role at this point.
Now, another guy you have on this list, I'm interested to hear what you have to say because this is a guy who I have in one of my leagues. So I've actually been debating whether or not I should start him, and that's Najee Harris.
Yeah, I mean, Najee Harris, he's been very, very solid, especially since Week 6. He's been a top 16 fantasy running back in terms of PPR points per game. However, he's averaged more than 3.5 yards per carry only once over the past 5 games. Just happened to be bailed out by some scoring 3 touchdowns and some fluky receiving work over that span. But with the Steelers boasting the league's least running back fantasy-friendly schedule during the stretch run from weeks 15 to 17, according to the Fantasy Pro Strength of Schedule chart, the sledding's only going to get tougher from this point forward. Pittsburgh faces the Eagles and Ravens on the road in their next 2 games before hosting the Chiefs in Week 17. It's just a gauntlet of opponents with incredibly stout run-stopping units. And the Steelers may find themselves in negative game script more often than they've been this season, which is obviously not good news for Najee, and it could mean we see more Jaylen Warren, who is the preferred receiving back for the Steelers. Warren's run around on 40.1% of Pittsburgh's dropbacks since Week 6 compared to Najee's 28.1% rate. And Warren's also out-snapped Najee in 2 of the past 3 games, making this a full-blown timeshare and probably something that you should avoid in the playoffs, in my opinion.
Yeah, makes sense. I think I might stay away from him. What about a receiver that's in play that we should stay away from?
Receiver, this one pains me because I was pretty high on him coming into the year.
Don't you say it.
DK Metcalf of the Seattle Seahawks, man. This one pains me. I have him on the bench and actually in a league that I just got eliminated in the last week of the regular season. And it's partly because of him. He's been the PPR wide receiver 46 on a points per game basis since returning from his MCL sprain in Week 11. Not to mention he's also battling a new shoulder injury since rejoining the lineup and clearly looks banged up out there. It doesn't help that the Seahawks have also abandoned their pass-happy ways lately, posting a 55.87% pass play rate over the past 3 games compared to their season-long 62.59% clip. It's a pretty steep drop-off. And not to mention, Seattle's slowly but surely turning to JSN, Jackson Smith and Jigba, as the primary pass-catching target. Metcalf still has a slight edge in the target share department since coming back from injury, but JSN clearly has been more efficient and productive when given the chance. Combine the refined offensive approach and JSN's emergence with Seattle's bottom 7 SOS rating for wide receivers for the rest of the season, and you get a Metcalf disaster waiting to happen, in my opinion.
I don't know what to do then, Lior. You just ruined all my hopes and dreams. Okay, Lior, you tell me. I might listen to you. I might not, but I would enjoy knowing this. Which 2 receivers should I start? Lad McConkey, DK Metcalf, Jerry Jeudy, Michael Pittman Jr., Calvin Ridley.
Well, I think Judy's the one lock of the bunch for sure. And
Oh,
yeah, I mean he's been too hot with Jameis there. It's hard to ignore. It's like any other player putting up the numbers he's been putting since Jameis has been under center would be recognized as like a consensus wide receiver one. But for some reason, Judy's just not getting the same recognition that I think he deserves right now. And then the second one, I'd say if McConkey plays, it's hard not or hard to bench him. He looked like he was really becoming the focal point of the Chargers offense before hurting himself against the Falcons. I think he was like literally the only one that was catching balls for them before leaving the game. I think that he must have had like 8 catches, I think, in the first half or whatever it was. And I think you just got to bet on him continuing to be leaned on as the Chargers look to get into the playoffs if he plays.
all right. Well, I'm doing it. And how my team made the playoffs drafting Christian McCaffrey first overall is those are not necessarily the 5 wide receivers you think of as, oh, yeah, that's a playoff team. That right there is finding a way to get it done.
Lior, I got one more question for you, and then we'll let you go here. This is, Sterling just asked for advice for his team, so I'll ask advice for mine, but this is kind of a general question that might apply to some other people as well. I'm in a super flex league, so I can start 2 quarterbacks. Unfortunately, Derek Carr is one of my 2 quarterbacks. He went down this past week. In a super flex league, and maybe for playoffs or maybe in regular season, doesn't really matter. What do you think would be more valuable, or which way would you lean towards starting either a bad quarterback in that super flex spot or a good wide receiver? Because I have Jake Haener right now, which I could slot in, or I could slot in, and this is more the way I'm leaning. I have like Juwan Jennings. I could slide in that spot instead.
Okay, yeah, well, you beat me to it. I was going to say it depends on how bad of the quarterback we're talking here. And with Haener, and especially like you have a very viable alternative in Juwan Jennings, who I think is like a top 24 wide receiver in fantasy. I think it's a pretty easy choice to go with Juwan there. The Niners are obviously they're fighting for their playoff lives. Their odds are slim, but the NFC West is still somewhat pretty open. I mean, the Seahawks are starting to run away with it, but the Niners are still competing out there, and I think because of that they're going to turn to their big guns, Juwan Jennings, George Kittle. They're going to try to pull all the stops. And especially without McCaffrey and Isaac Guerendo now banged up too, they're going to be trying to move the ball through the air with the run game a little bit suspect right now.
All right, let's just go say hypothetically here, Lior, and you have Isaac Guerendo in your flex spot because you had Christian McCaffrey and then he was done. Then you had Jordan Mason, then he was done. And then you're like, let's try Isaac Guerendo, and he's also basically done. Let's just go ahead and say flex spot. Everything changes if Kenneth Walker does not play because I have Zach Charbonnet. Yeah, this team, again, made the playoffs. I know. This is called a good manager here, boys. That's what I'm getting at this point. Kyler Murray's my quarterback. I have no idea. This team sucks. Zach Charbonnet, if he obviously he's a flex guy if Kenneth Walker does not go. But it's tough to tell because it's Thursday Night Football, right? So if it's Thursday Night Football, I got to lock a guy in. If I lock a guy in, do I play Isaac Guerendo? If Isaac Guerendo can't go, do I go with Patrick Taylor Jr.? If those guys can't go, do I rock with and just hope that DK Metcalf or Zach Charbonnet plays?
I think you feel good about Guerendo if he plays. I think if he's out, you feel comfortable not starting Patrick Taylor given the uncertainty and betting on Ken Walker sitting and getting another RB1 week out of Charbonnet, knowing that you have Metcalf as obviously I said to avoid him, but in this situation, it's pretty seamless plug and play for you.
Not a great situation, Lior, I'm in. Not ideal.
Not ideal, but they are on the same team, and so it's easy to just plug one in for the other. If you see Walker is deemed active, you can just pivot pretty easily. And I think just because of that, the upside of Charbonnet is worth chasing in this situation.
So you'd keep Guerendo in if he's healthy. If he's good enough to play, you're starting him?
Yeah, I'd play Guerendo. I mean, we saw what he was doing beforehand.
Okay.
He was dominating beforehand, so it feels pretty good to play him, if you ask me.
My lineup sucks. Let's freaking go, boys.
Yeah, that one's a tough one. All right, Lior, thank you so much for hopping on with us. Best of luck to you in your fantasy playoffs. Best of luck to all the viewers in their fantasy playoffs if they made it. You can follow him on X at Lior Lampert1 and let the people know where else they can find your work.
On fansided.com, as always. Appreciate it, fellas. Good luck in your fantasy matchups.
Fantastic. Great stuff, Lior. Thank you so much. Let's wrap up the show, Sterling, with our best bets for Week 15. I've talked about it before. This has been a disaster of a season. I mean, I was going to miss the playoffs in all my fantasy leagues. At least I got back in the playoffs in a few of them. But my picks have been trash. My Survivor League picks were I was out early. The Falcons stink. I went 0-3 again last week. Thank you to the Doinkin' In. The Doinkin' In has sent me into an existential crisis, by the way. I had Eagles. They didn't cover. Chargers obviously didn't win. And the over and the Browns Steelers, I needed one more score of any point, of any kind. And what's his name muffed the punt, and then Kadarius Toney muffed the punt and then got cut. So also before that, I think the Browns are driving in Jameis through pick. So perfect. Yeah. Sterling, you went 2-1. Your great season continues. So you covered on the Bucks. You hit the Rams as an underdog against the Bills, which is a bit of a bold call. Jags Titans did not go over. Not even close, but 2-1.
Oh, yeah. Rip on me for that one. Thanks. Appreciate it.
I gave you a compliment for the Rams. I got to bring it back down to earth.
Yeah, nice. Rams. Bold move. You got that one, and then not even close.
Well, no. I mean, I was close in all three of mine, but close only counts in horseshoes.
What does that get you?
Nothing. Because close only counts in horseshoes.
This is how the Chiefs work, baby. It doesn't matter if it's close or not. You got to win. You got to win, Ian.
All right, picks for this week, starting with, and I credit to me for allowing you to have first call on all these games. Spread. I wasn't going to go this way with the spread anyways, so go ahead.
Credit to me for picking Bengals 5 points, -5. Give me the Bengals. I think they cover. I don't think it's even questionable.
And I will take the Jets -3. I've been on the opposite side of the Jets almost every week. It has worked for me. Actually, no, this past week because I got the Dolphins at a bad number. The Jets actually covered on my bet. But I'll take the Jets this week. I think Aaron Rodgers actually has a good game against the Jaguars defense. I'll go Jets -3. Total bet, Sterling.
Yeah, Patriots and Cards. Going under 46. 46 just seems too high to me. The Arizona offense has not quite been humming the way it was early on in the season. Trey McBride still getting a lot of action. But Kyler Murray, as you're talking about, really not doing a ton since the calendar flipped to December. Patriots defense is still solid. They're fine. I know Drake May's back, all that stuff, so the offense of New England should be better, but I'll take the under 46 in this one.
I'll go over 43 between the Cowboys and Panthers. Credit to Bryce Young. I mean, Eagles secondary is one of the best in the NFL, if not the best, and Bryce Young still looks solid. Chuba Hubbard has looked great. I still don't really trust the Panthers defense, and the Cowboys are kind of similar. I don't trust Cooper Rush, but I do think Rico Dowdle has looked very good since he's been named the primary back, and the Panthers can't stop the run. So I'll go over 43, Cowboys, Panthers, and then finally upset pick of the week, Sterling.
Yeah, this is the one I was waiting on. Colts surprising. Over Broncos.
Really?
Yeah, I think when everyone thinks that on paper the Colts are a good matchup, that's when the Broncos are a good matchup against the Colts. That's when I'm zigging when everyone else is zagging.
Worked for you last week?
Worked for me last week. I'm going to try it again this week. I've been pretty good on upset picks all year long, and this is another one that I just feel like I don't have the same feel in this one as I did with the Rams last week. There wasn't a game that really jumped out to me as an upset that I felt super strongly about, but this is probably the one I felt the most strongly about, and the other game I would have gone with if I didn't choose this one were actually going to be the Browns over the Chiefs. But I'm not going that, so I'm going to just stick with the Colts.
I'm going to go, and by the way, I don't like that Colts pick, which actually is a good sign for you. So count that as a winner. I will take the Dolphins plus 124 against the Texans. Texans offense, I said earlier, not good. Like, really not good. And also, Jalen Petrie just got announced out. That's a huge hit for their defense. He's a very good safety. I think the Dolphins are the far superior offense. I don't even think it's close. And Miami is not playing outdoors up north. So it is indoors. It is in Houston, so they will be all right in this one. I'll take Miami to upset the Texans.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good one. I just didn't think that was enough juice there.
Yeah.
Give me juicy.
All right, I like it. There you go. That's the show. Thank you all so much for watching and listening. Once again, subscribe to Stack in the Box on YouTube. And we'll be back Monday morning, 9:30 a.m. Eastern, to recap the Sunday's Week 15 action. And we'll also talk the Monday Night Football doubleheader, including my Atlanta Falcons, who are in a must-win situation, and a must-win situation potentially against their quarterback from last year, Desmond Ridder. I don't think a quarterback's been announced for that game yet. Desmond Ridder makes me confident, but also completely not confident whatsoever because it'd be very Falcons to lose that game to Desmond Ridder. Final thoughts, Sterling?
Yeah, enjoy this slate of games. I mean, the playoff run is coming down to the stretch now, and there are a lot of really, really good games. So sit back, have fun. I hope you win your bets. I hope you play some fun moves on Underdog Fantasy, and I hope your fantasy football team wins.
May Gambler, the gambling god, bless all of your bets this weekend. Enjoy the action. Talk to you Monday morning. Bye.